Hey, it's Matt with Midwest Guns and Gear, and we've got a lot to cover today. This isn't going to be a shooting video, although we will be shooting what we've got today and explain a little bit about it. So it's getting fall time. It's starting to get a little cool here on the ranch that we live on, and means we're working livestock a little bit more. I'm on horseback and ATV a little bit more, and I'm carrying around the farm. And one of what I carry a lot is the old 6-shooters, the single action revolvers, and I've got a few of them out of the safe we're going to talk about today, and a couple that I borrowed from some other people that work here on the ranch with us. And we're going to get into it, but as we do, since we're talking about cowboy guns, then I guess I better look the part. So let's do this. All right, taking a look at what I got out here, we're going to talk about today is a variety of 6 guns, single actions. I've got Colts and Rugers here, and I've got some a little different that kind of fits in but kind of doesn't fit in, and that is the Rossi Ranch Hand here. Now it holds 6 rounds. It is a cowboy gun, not really a single action, but I just thought I'd throw it in while we're at it. We're going to talk about a little bit about each and every one of these and the history of them as well. So let's get started. So as far as 6 guns go, of course, originally the Colt was the first ones, or the first of the single actions out there. This is one of mine. This is a Colt. It's actually a cowboy model. This was one made in the 1990s. It's chambered in .45 Colt. Now the cowboy model, it was brought back as a cheaper priced firearm for Colt, because if you've ever priced out a single action Army, they are not cheap. And it was for cowboy shooters. It was a little bit cheaper. They mostly made them in .45 long Colt. There were also, I know they made them in .38, because I was looking at one at .38 on Gunbroker years ago, and someone got it before I was able to. But this has the modern transfer safety bar. So basically, you can load it without, with the cylinder just open a little bit. The original Colt Single Action Army or Peacekeeper or Model P that came out, you could not carry the hammer on a loaded cylinder, because you ran the risk of it going off. So most people just carried 5 rounds. But back when these came out, these were the assault weapon, or the assault pistol at the time, actually. Kind of hard to think of this as an assault weapon, but I mean, back in the day, a 6 gun with metallic cartridges. Same with the Winchester with lever action. I mean, that was an assault weapon back then. Not that, we were whiny enough to whine about assault weapons. But the Colts, one of the Colts, here's a couple other models that I happen to have. These are 22 long rifle versions. This is the Colt Frontier. And these were brought out in the 50s. This model was actually only made for 1 year back in the 50s. This is a little bit of a newer version. This is the New Frontier. And the New Frontier, besides 22, they do make these in larger calibers. And one of the differences between the Single Action Army and the Frontier, and this is on the bigger cartridges, not just the 22s, is you notice the front sight, you notice the rear has an adjustable sight. It's got a little bit different of a front sight. It also, the top strap on it, you got a little more beef here than you do here. But otherwise very, very similar. Some have the transfer bar safety, which allows you to carry with 6. Some of them do not. I do not believe this one does. This is an older one and does not have that. So talk a little bit about the Colt Single Action Army and some of the variants, and then we're going to go into the Rugers and talk about them. So a little about the Colt Single Action Army, and this comes from Wikipedia. Colt Single Action Army, known as the SAA, the Model P, the Peacemaker, or the 1873, is a single-action revolver handgun designed for the U.S. government service revolver trials in 1872 by Colt's Patent Firearms Manufacturing Company. It was adopted as a standard issue revolver for the United States Army and served from 1873 until 1892. The Colt Single Action Army has been offered in over 30 different calibers, various barrel lengths, and its overall appearance has remained consistent since 1873. Colt canceled its production twice, but renewed it due to popular demand. The revolver, dubbed the Peacemaker, and is a famous piece of Americana and the American Wild West era due to its popularity with ranchers, lawmen, and outlaws alike. Today it's mostly bought as memorabilia by collectors and reenactors. Its design has influenced the production of numerous other models from other companies. The original length of the barrel issued to the U.S. Cavalry was 7.5 inches with an overall length of 13 inches. And so the Colt Single Action Army, originally when metallic cartridges were coming out, Smith & Wesson ended up with a patent for them. So Colt took some of their black powder rifles and they had a conversion that you could get where you would put a different cylinder in, and you could take the cylinder out of their black powder and it would shoot the metallic cartridges. That was kind of a way to get around patents at the time. Once the patent finally expired, that's when the Single Action Army came out. And I mean, as far as Colt revolvers go, now they've got some really nice revolvers they've made over the years, but this was the best for many years. They had some double action ones that were around in the turn of the century. I've got several of those we'll do videos on. The timing issues on those are really bad, and a lot of underpowered cartridges with them. Really, it was until they got into the Troopers, the Pythons, the Anacondas, and those type was really when the Colt revolvers kind of came back as just really phenomenal revolvers. But these, just a pleasure to shoot. So some of the different models of the Colt Single Action Army was the Colt Frontier, or the Frontier 6-shooter. It was an 1873 Model P, and it was manufactured in .44-40 Winchester caliber instead of the .45 Colt, which basically it was so if you were out on the range and you're carrying a Winchester, which the Winchesters at the time were in .44-40, you could have just one firearm. Or I'm sorry, you could have two firearms, but just one ammunition. Later on, Winchester made the lever action rifle in .45 Colt, so that was kind of another option where you could carry both of them at the same time. It's also the Colt Bisley. I don't have one of those here, but it's got a little bit of a different grip. The grips kind of goes down just a little bit faster, or a little bit before this one does. I'm not a big fan of the Bisley. I've shot them. Some people swear by them. I'm just not a fan. Another one of the models they made was a Buntline Special, which was basically the single action, but it had a 12-inch barrel, so the barrel would come out to about right here. And back before modern laws, some of them even had a stock that you could put on them for these and for the bunt lines, but due to modern laws, that is not legal to do. The other model, of course, is the Colt Cowboy. We talked a little bit about that because Colt in the 90s wanted a cheaper variation, and this was out for a couple of years, but then Colt kind of ceased productions of almost everything for a little while, and so the Cowboy disappeared. Now, talking about the New Frontier and the Frontier Scout, so talking about some of the 22 Colt revolvers, the Frontier Scout, and I've done a video on this, in the 50s, The 6-shooters were getting really popular again, especially the 22 ones, and the cowboy movies were out, the cowboy TV shows. Everybody wanted one, and Colt had quit making them. Ruger brought them back, and the Rugers were selling like crazy, and so Colt decided to get back into it. And they had a couple of different models. They had the Frontier Scout. This is a little bit different of a finish on it. These were made for 1 year, although the Frontier Scouts were made for quite a while. Also the New Frontier, which is has adjustable sights on the back, a little bit of a different front sight to it, and I don't know, it doesn't fit in the hand as well as some of the others do, but I mean, it's a good little shooter. But that's a little bit about the Colts. Now we're going to talk about Ruger now, and I've got a few different models of the Rugers out there, starting with the Ruger Blackhawk, and this is one of the older ones. It's not a 3-screw, but it is a little bit older model. This one is chambered in 357. We've also got the Ruger Blackhawk convertible, and these are kind of neat. This is the new model Blackhawk, and the thing with this is the cylinders. You can take the cylinder out, and it comes with more than one caliber. This is a 45 long Colt. It also comes with a 45 ACP cylinder that you can swap back and forth, which is kind of cool. A little cheaper to shoot. 45 long Colt is not cheap. One of the Ruger Red Hawk models has the convertible cylinders as well. The only downside to it is there's a slight difference in the size of a 45 long Colt bullet and a 45 ACP bullet. So when you shoot 45 ACP, it's fairly accurate, but it doesn't get the spin that the 45 long Colt does shooting out of these. But you know, it's a little cheaper to shoot. We've also got a Ruger Vaquero, if I can get it out of the holster here. This is a 44 Magnum, the Ruger Vaquero, and the Ruger Super Blackhawk. A little bit different. This is more true to the original Colt line, as you can kind of see with the compared to the Cowboy, the top strap, the sights is pretty much the same, where the Blackhawk, you've got the adjustable rear sights, you've got a pinned on front sight, so you could change it out with a different style sight, and it's a little beefier. Now granted, this Vaquero is one of the old Vaqueros. There's 2 generations of Vaqueros, the old Vaquero and the new Vaquero. The old Vaquero can take some heavier loads. I mean, this one is in 44 mag. The new ones are not offered in 44 mag. I believe they're just 45 Colt and 357. There might be a 3rd caliber as well. I'll look it up here in a minute. But the older ones were built a little beefier. I do not shoot Ruger only loads. One, because I don't know if it'll take it or not. It probably will from the research I've done, but also a 44 Magnum in a Ruger Vaquero can be a little painful to shoot. So I don't think I'd want to go up to some bear loads or some Ruger only loads. This, we've shot some hot loads out of it. It's performed well. They're a little bit heavier, but if you're really going to get into the hot loads, that's where you go up to the Ruger Super Blackhawk, and these are made for Ruger only loads. This is another 44 Magnum. This is one I use for hunting occasionally. It's a little bit heavier frame. It's got a little bit more of a grip on it. You can see my whole hand will fit on this with no issues, where my pinky finger kind of hangs off the end. And I've got some recoil reducing grips on these, because there's a little bit of a recoil to it, but makes a nice little deer rig. I like to handgun hunt. Now also with Ruger, And this one kind of a little special to me. This was my father's. That when I was a kid, this is what I carried around the ranch when I was out. Well, not when I was a kid, but about 12, 13 years old when, you know, we kind of started. It was 22 long rifle, and then these had a 22 Magnum cylinder as well. And, you know, when I was a kid, that 22 Magnum, I thought that was just awesome. I mean, it really got me excited when I get to carry that, and I felt like a cowboy. And very, very accurate guns. I mean, Ruger brought these back, and Ruger, you know, this wasn't what put Ruger on the map, but, you know, these things really helped make them a company, as with the Blackhawk. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Blackhawk and the Single 6, which is the designation of this one, and the Vaquero. So let's pull it up now. So the Ruger Blackhawk in the early 50s, Westerns were popular in movies and television. Colt was no longer making the Single Action Army after World War II, and a few single action revolvers were available to meet the market, but there weren't many out there, and there was a big demand for cowboy-style revolvers. So in 1953, Strum Ruger and Company introduced the Single 6, 22 long rifle rimfire single action revolver. The Single 6 proved to be a popular seller, leading Ruger to develop a market for centerfire revolvers similar to the Single Action Army, and that's the Ruger Blackhawk. Ruger introduced the Blackhawk in 1955, chambered in .357 Magnum. The Blackhawk was a simple and strong design. It sold well in 1956 as Smith & Wesson was introducing the new .44 Magnum. Ruger quickly developed a variant of the Blackhawk in the .44 Magnum. Ruger achieved wide popularity with this firearm. The Blackhawk was both cheaper and more readily available than the Smith & Wesson Model 29 revolver. According to popular legend, Ruger was able to field a .22 Magnum revolver at nearly the same time as Smith & Wesson, due to the Ruger employee finding expended .44 Magnum cartridge cases at a scrapyard and deducing that Smith & Wesson was about to launch a new cartridge. The 1952 to 1962 Blackhawks were known as the flat-top models because their adjustable rear sights were not protected by ears extending up from the frame, as later became standard from '62 to 1972. Ruger made the 3-screw Blackhawk in various calibers, so called by the number of screws visible on the side of the revolver. And yes, this is a 2-screw. This does not have 3 screws. Early models of Blackhawk still operated the same way that Colt did, with the hammer, when the hammer was half-cocked to load and unload, but it was also not safe to carry with the hammer resting on a cartridge. In 1973, in order to eliminate accidents occurring from the hammer jarring against a round loaded in the 6th chamber, Ruger introduced the new model Blackhawk, which did not require the hammer to be half-cocked for loading and unloading, and it employed a transfer bar mechanism which prevented the cartridge under the hammer from being fired without the trigger being pulled. Also at the time, Ruger was having to where you could send them in and they would convert it to the transfer bar safety. I do remember that as a kid. That was kind of a big thing you'd hear a lot of people talking about, and they all called it their retrofit program. So some of the different offerings that Ruger had besides the Blackhawk was the new model Blackhawk. It was produced in blued steel in .30 carbine, .357 Magnum, .41 Remington Magnum, .44 Special, .45 Colt, and produced in stainless in .327 Federal Magnum, and that had a 8-round cylinder. The .357 Magnum and the .45 Colt multiple barrel links were offered in many of these configurations. The new model Blackhawk convertible, which is what this is, the cylinder of the Blackhawk's easily removed and can be replaced with a cylinder from a different cartridge in the same diameter. Ruger's offered convertible cylinder revolvers, .45 Colt, .45 ACP, 38-40 and 10mm auto, 357 Magnum, 38 and 9mm Parabellum, and of course a single 6 in 22 and 22 Magnum. Now, one thing about these though is with the convertible, if you lose a cylinder, another cylinder has to be fitted. You can't just buy, this has the 45 Colt cylinder in it right now. I can't just buy a 45 ACP and pop it in there because they could be off a little bit, and they always suggest that you get one that is fitted from Ruger. The Vaquero and the new Vaquero, with the popularity of the cowboy action shooting, came demand for the single action revolver that was a more traditional in appearance as a standard Ruger Blackhawk, departs from the Single Action Army and looks due to its adjustable sights. Ruger offered a fixed sight equivalent to cater to buyers wanting a more traditional appearance in all other ways. The Vaquero was identical to the Blackhawk, though it offered slightly fewer variants. The original Vaquero was offered in 357, 44 Magnum, and 44 Colt, while after some time Ruger went with a smaller frame and it more closely resembles the actual size of the Colt Single Action Army, changed its name to the new Vaquero, and dropped the powerful 44 Magnum from the lineup while keeping the smaller size. Ruger went back to the simple Vaquero name. We've also got the Bisley designs. I don't have one of these here. They've got just a little bit of a different grip to them. The old Army is another one. I don't have one of these here, but it's a percussion. It's a cap and ball black powder revolver that's based on the Blackhawk frame. Now, another interesting note about the Ruger Super Blackhawk is James Bond, in one of the books, the novel License Revoked. James Bond illegally owns a Ruger 44 Super Blackhawk. So, not just the PPK, it's a James Bond gun. Now also, the Ruger has some 22 variants. The Ruger Single 6, the Bearcat are the two that come to mind. There might be one or two other ones. The Single 6 is a little bit smaller than the Blackhawk, but not by a lot. The grip's about the same. The Bearcat's a little bit of a smaller frame and more for smaller hands. The Single 6 originally had the 3-screw design like the Blackhawks did, although in '73 it was changed to the 2-screw, and it had the transfer bar safety. And then another 6-shooter that I grabbed, a cowboy style one, but not really, kind of goes with these, but not really, and that's the Rossi Ranch Hand. And these were, there's a couple other companies that have made these. This was one that I picked up, kind of curious. It's one of those things, it's not really practical. It's fun at the range. Everyone that sees it wants to shoot it. It's a smaller version of the Winchester, and these were popular in a TV show back in the 50s. And this was just a variant I picked up. These are in 22 long rifle. I think I've seen them in 44 mag. This is a 45 Colt, and as you can see, it's not as scuffed up as some of my 6-shooters, just because it doesn't get carried that much. It basically goes out to the range and goes back in the safe because it's 6 rounds of 45 long Colt. But so is this, and this is a whole lot easier to carry, and you know, this is easy to hold and shoot. Well, this is a little uncomfortable. I have thought about if SBR laws change and it becomes a non-NFA item. You know, I've thought about the possibility of maybe making this into an SBR with a regular stock, but for the time being, I don't want to do the paperwork on it. It's not that, you know, big of something I'm thinking of that, you know, I'm really want to deal with the paperwork or the whole thing. But it'd be kind of a neat idea. I may buy a second one of these if the SBR ruling goes off the NFA, and you know, might see if it's a feasible weapon. So that's a look at the single actions, the Blackhawks, the Vaqueros, the Peacemakers, the Single 6, the New Frontier, the Frontier Scout. A little bit of them. If you like to shoot, if you've never shot a single action, I would definitely recommend, if you know someone that has one, give it a try. They're fun to shoot. They give that nostalgia. I mean, we've all grown up seeing cowboy movies here and there, or someone, you know, carrying one. Even, you know, police officers, sheriff deputies back in, you know, the 60s, 70s, 50s, you know, you'd see them still carrying these, and they're just fun to shoot. I mean, you take them out to the range and you get this thing in your hand. It feels nice, the look of it. When you pull the trigger, I do a lot of reloading, and so I do a lot of cowboy action loads, and with that, you get that big puff of smoke that comes out, and it's just fun if you like to shoot. So if you never had one, there's other brands out there too that I don't have any of those. I really don't have any experience with any of those. The Ruger and the Colt's pretty much what I stayed with. I like both those brands. They're very well made, and you know, they're just fun to shoot. There's a few difference between the two. The Colt has a smaller trigger, where the Ruger has a wide one. A little difference in the feeling of the two of them, but the only real difference is if you want something that's going to sit in the safe a lot, that's going to maybe go up in value, you want a collector, you go with the Colt. But they're a little more expensive. If it's something that you might actually carry around with you quite a bit, the Rugers are a whole lot cheaper. They're very well built. One thing I will say about Bill Ruger is Bill Ruger knows his firearms, and in many ways he perfected the Colt when it comes to the single action. So just to look at some of these, it's Matt with Midwest Guns and Gear. I'm going to do some individual videos on all these different firearms. So in the future, you're going to see different ones coming up. We'll try to make them, maybe do a Wheel Gun Wednesday and have them come up. If you enjoy the videos, please consider giving us a thumbs up. Right now, it's a fairly new channel, and we appreciate all of the subscribers, all the likes that we get. Please give us thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, help us grow. If you had one of these growing up, tell me about it. You know, if you grew up with a 22, had a 357, had the 45 Colt, and you know, you loved it, you hated it, tell me about it. Tell me about, you know, what model you got and what your opinions were of it. If you've never shot one, again, if you get a chance, shoot one. They are a blast, literally. It's Matt with Midwest Guns and Gears. Till next time, have a great day.